name is CallieVanRyn, and this is my capstone senior project. It is the Bird Cat Sanctuary. It's located in Salem, Oregon, and fun fact, it's named after the Oregon state tree, which is the Douglas fir, and I've implemented it in the museum. Interesting. But firstly, look at this cute little fella. This little apple of my eye is totally normal than mine. I will tell you a little bit about him. He was born sometime in May 2010. He has 3 siblings, all sisters. And my family and I actually found him in an outdoor fireplace. And he was the runt of the family. And to be quite honest, he was in really, really bad shape. He was severely malnourished and incredibly weak. And according to the vet, he would not have lived under normal circumstances had it not been for treatment intervention. And to give you a little perspective as to how small he truly was, he's about a month old here, and that's a popsicle box that he's sitting. But he was really tiny. Furthermore, his attributes include fluffy gray fur, as you can see, powdered paws, a goofy personality, unusual hobbies including laying upside down so he can be with his family. See what I mean? He's silly. So going into the project, I began to think about how much him and his sisters impacted my family. We've become crazy cat people now, because that wasn't obvious. But him and his family were strays, and they were impacted by the cat overpopulation. And unfortunately, many cats have not had the luck that he happened to have. He had great veterinarian staff, and my mom would wake up every 2 hours to feed them. She was quite a superstar. And she took care of them just until they were ready to be strong little kittens on their own. But we have encountered many strays since then, and unfortunately, we haven't been able to save any of the kittens. We have been able to save a majority of the older ones, but the kittens have not survived. So this is because of cat overpopulation, and according to the study conducted by Animals Abused and Abandoned, it's estimated around 420,000 cats are born every 7 years. Furthermore, about 5 to 9 million cats and dogs, but primarily cats, about 70% of them are cats, are euthanized every single year due to overpopulation in shelters. Moreover, almost all of those animals that are euthanized are perfectly healthy, fit, and most of them are relatively young. They just don't have any room for them. But this study found that all of this could be solved simply with spay and neuter surgeries. So I began to think about how this could affect cats who have been already impacted by cat overpopulation, as well as how can it stop from creating more cats. So I went into my project with lots of questions. For instance, are the materials that are present in facilities such as shelters, are they currently safe? How do cats impact biodiversity? Do they impact biodiversity? How can one facility accommodate all of these cats? They have varying different abilities and emotional state. How can one facility accommodate all of them? And as you can see, but I began to kind of step back and think about it in a more broad term as opposed to dealing with the technical details later, and think about how could I impact one cat? How could one facility help one cat such as Toby? So naturally, my question was how to help this little baby burrito and future baby burritos. He's so cute. He was so tiny. And this is my dad, and he swore up and down that he would never ever be a cat person. And he had no idea what he was getting into because that's all we do now. But there is a real problem, and unfortunately, it is a design problem. Cat overpopulation has impacted so many cats, and not only does it impact cats, but it does impact the biodiversity. There's not enough land for them to live in. They are territorial. They fight. Sometimes those fights end poorly. Most of the time they end poorly. As well as they are killing thousands of birds, and they are impacting the areas in which that it's just gotten out of control. So through my research, I found that the lack of proper facilities, whether this is veterinarian care or if it is just a facility to house them, the lack of those proper facilities leads to cat overpopulation, which leads to the impact on the biodiversity in the area that they are in. So going into my research topics, I researched 3 specifically. So the first was cat psychology. The second was sustainability, specifically LEED certification, and marketing, specifically sustainable marketing. So firstly was cat psychology. This was by far my most important, not that I had to rank any, but if I had to, this would be the one. Because I'm designing a facility for cats. It's completely to cater to them. I mean, there will be humans in there as well. But this facility is to focus on the happiness and the health of cats. Therefore, I need to know how they think and how they feel on a day-to-day basis. And one of the most interesting things that I found was cats that have been abandoned by their owners require a period of rehabilitation before they are willing and able to trust humans again. So through interaction, this can be through petting an animal, speaking to an animal, or simply sitting in the same room. Because you're sitting there and you're not showing them any type of harm, this gets them to trust you. And that leads to them becoming reacquainted with humans. And as a happy byproduct of that, I found this through a very interesting study that because they're becoming reacquainted with humans, it also cuts down on the spread of disease within the facility, which is probably one of the most important things in shelters. Disease just spreads like wildfire. And essentially this is because a happy cat is a healthy cat. It's the same thing that goes with humans when we are stressed and when we're boggled down by, whatever we're boggled down by. We are more susceptible to catching things that we normally wouldn't because our immune system is run down because of what's going on here. It's the same thing that goes with cats. When they are stressed and uncomfortable and they don't trust a situation they're in, their immune system just crashes, and then again, disease just spreads like crazy. And then when you introduce new cats who are likely to have diseases, then you just have a huge problem. So this is just a happy byproduct of the interaction reacquainted with humans, but our ultimate goal is for full rehabilitation in order to get them ready for adoption. That's our ultimate goal. So I also looked into sustainability. Firstly, these are really the 3 main topics I looked at. I looked at a variety of stuff, but these are the 3 that I really, got a hold of and ran with. So the materials is what drew me in because so much of the shelters that we currently have, the materials aren't actually the safest for those cats to be so close. Dogs too, but cats specifically, they are so close and they're all over the place, so they touch everything. I also looked into native plants. This is the utmost sustainable way you can go about implementing plants within any type of facility. And this is because native plants already grow there, so there's no carbon footprint to ship them to where you need them. And they are completely tolerant to insects and diseases and weather changes. So you don't have to replace them when they die from disease spread. You don't have to replace them when, snow frost comes, because they are already tolerant to all of those changes. So this is an orange blossom bush, which is native to Oregon. And it was important that they all are completely non-toxic to cats, because cats do interact with nature a lot. It was important that all of the plants implemented were completely non-toxic. So I looked into that as well as I looked into daylighting. This has been proven for years that it impacts the energy efficiency of a building by a lot. It's what a lot of the LEED certification points harps on, is implementing daylighting. It also improves the happiness and health of not only the humans but the cats. So. And then next, I also looked into sustainable marketing. Specifically, I looked into marketing. I didn't even know this was a thing, so I was kind of excited when I found this. Essentially, it is marketing. It is a business facility, we are trying to get the community to adopt out cats. We need to draw them in. So we do need to market it. So sustainable marketing is essentially marketing, trying to attract people into your facility. However, it's done in a sustainable way as to you aren't impacting the environment when you are trying to attract people in, which marketing can be quite harsh on the environment sometimes. And specifically, since this facility, so much of it is that you are, our whole goal is the happiness, the health of not only the humans, but the cats in there. This seems like a good way to market an already sustainable business. So I specifically looked into color theory, branding, and logos to implement that into my design to draw people in. So going into my concept, I really wanted it to be a creative and unique building because it is rather creative and unique, but also it needed to be taken seriously and it needed to be business-like. You can't just, have cats galore everywhere, even if you want to. But the 3 words I chose were enchanting, botanical, and classic. So this is my solution, i.e. my floor plan. So I have split it up based on its function. That side over there is where cats are coming in, meaning the community is dropping them off, most likely ferals. As this section here is where cats are coming out, meaning the community is adopting them. So I'm going to talk about that side more in depth. So within this split up floor plan, that side in particular, I have split up based on the cat's ability and the function that it serves that specific cat's ability. So this section in particular is the SCV positive cats, which are the contagious cats. They can still live happily, but they are contagious and need to be kept away from the others. So they have an identical space to the others, and they will have their own materials and supplies specifically for that area so we don't spread their disease. And we also have the handicapped feral cat area. This is where those cats who are feral, they don't like humans, they'll never like humans, it's just the way that it is, but they deserve to live out the rest of their life happily. This is where they will live. And the reason they are here as opposed to the feral cat courtyard is because they would most likely be taken advantage of. Spay and neuter does cut down on behavioral problems by a lot. They also cut down on territorial problems, but things happen. It's just the way that it is. So they will be kept separate from the feral cat courtyard, which is an outdoor space that is specifically for feral cats who cannot be adopted, but they are physically fine. This is where they will live. As well as the rehabilitation area, which is, like I said in previous slides, where those have been abandoned by owners. This is where they will live. So this area is short-term as opposed to the others are long-term. The end goal is to get them over here so they can be adopted, as opposed to those areas, they will live there for the rest of their lives. And I should point out that these adjacent playrooms here, this is where that one-on-one interaction with most likely volunteers, but employees as well, this is where they will get that one-on-one interaction with those cats in the rehabilitation area. And then of course we have the reception, which I'll talk about in other slides. But firstly, we only have a little bit left to go, as the cat dangling on the rope suggests. So next we have the reception area. So I should point out that all of the materials that are implemented in here are sustainable. The commercial grade bamboo, the outstretched arms are meant to be symbolic. They're meant to welcome volunteers and people into the facility and telling them to come and learn about our facility and the impact that we make, as well as come learn about the impact that you can make. And they also are symbolic as we are offering a helping hand to cats in need in the area. And then I've also implemented skylights just for daylighting purposes for energy efficiency and to increase the health and happiness. We have good workers in the fur cat sanctuary. And next we have the sitting room perspective, which is indicated with the blue boxes. This is where those outstretched bamboo arms are pointing to. This is where those volunteers will sit and learn about the facility and learn about the impact that it's making, as well as the impact that they can make personally. And all of the materials in here as well are sustainable and healthy for people to breathe in. Next, we have the sunroom perspective. This area in particular was extremely important for the handicapped feral cats, which are on the my right or left side. And the reason for that was because through my research, I found that handicapped feral cats, they really cannot be outside. Their immune system is down all the time, and they're more susceptible to catching things because of all of the stuff that is available for them to catch outside. However, it was suggested that a sunroom would be a great alternative for them to get that nature that they need to thrive in. So we have floor-to-ceiling windows, and these are facing the south walls or the south sides, so we take advantage of daylighting. But this way, they can still participate in nature even if they can't physically be in it anymore. But it is very essential for their happiness and their health that they be a part of nature. As well as we have these cutouts where they can enter and exit the other area freely. This area will mostly be kept light because of the sun that comes in, whereas the area on the other side will mostly be kept dark because they also thrive in darkness. Their eyesight is better in darkness, and they like to hide and hunt when it's dark. So they have a choice between light and dark depending on their mood, and they can just hop back and forth whenever they choose to. We have the rehabilitation area, and again we have those cutouts so they can come in and out. On this wall here, there are floor-to-ceiling windows available, so it does act as a sunroom for them, and it does take advantage of the daylighting as well. It's on the north wall, I believe. But this area I really wanted to keep open as possible. Cats are very exuberant, not all the time, but some of the time they run around like crazy. So I wanted this area to give them the opportunity to let off that steam that maybe that they would have let off, with bad behavior, hurting another cat. This way they will have the ability to let off that steam they need to let off, as well as there are things in there for them to do. They can climb up and down the wall. They have these tents they can hide in and sleep, as well as cat climbers that they can play in. And again, through the cutouts is a darker area that if they choose to be alone in a private space, they can do that. They can relax as well as have an area where they can play. And then we have the cat courtyard, which is where I said this is where those feral cats who are perfectly physically able, but they don't like humans. They won't like humans ever. This is where they will live. And it was really important that the space replicate what they were coming from. Cats are undoubtedly going to be nervous and scared upon entering because it is a lifestyle change. But this way, if it replicates the parks and the neighborhoods around where they live, with the native plants they are used to, maybe it won't be as big of a change for them. So I really tried to have this replicate the area in which they were already going to be coming from, as well as it takes advantage of daylighting. On this wall is those floor-to-ceiling windows that we saw in the other perspectives. And then on that wall, those floor-to-ceiling windows, those look into the space. However, like I said, they don't trust people, they don't want to see people. So those will be a one-way glass. People can look out, but cats won't be able to look in. They won't feel like they're in a zoo or in a fishbowl being examined. They can live happily. As opposed to these windows, they will be able to look out at nature, but nature can't. So fast forward 9 years. This is Toby under the Christmas tree. This is their spot. But I wanted to point out what a big change he has had, and the fact that he probably wouldn't have survived had it not been for the veterinarian care and mostly my mom. So as opposed to where he has been very, very lucky to have 9 very happy years, there have been numerous amounts of cats that have not. Specifically, the kittens, they just don't have a very high rate of living, unfortunately. And the fact that him and his 3 sisters all lived was saying something. So, cat sanctuaries such as Fur Cat Sanctuary can not only give lives to those already impacted by cat overpopulation, but it will also cut down on cat overpopulation because of those spay and neuter surgeries that will occur. So Fur Cat Sanctuary gives people the chance at not only a life, but a full life.